Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's show on Wealth Strategy Secrets. We have a special guest joining us today, Julia Waller. Dedicated to developing others' talents and skilled at puzzling out how the different parts of a person fit together, Julia creates paths for people to grow and fully express who they are by connecting the dots between their experiences, talents, and passions. She's also deeply appreciative of what makes people unique. It all started in 1997 when Julia listened to Dan Sullivan talking in a workshop about something he called unique ability, the idea behind focusing on your unique talents and passions. The more she learned about this intriguing concept, the more fascinated she became. It just made sense. For more than 2 decades now, Julia has been having one-on-one unique ability meetings with coach team members, helping them zero in on what they do best so they can be more productive, creative, and fulfilled. Julia has also authored Unique Ability, Creating the Life You Want, and the Unique Ability 2.0 Discovery Book and Notebook. Julia lives in Toronto with her daughter, Vivienne, and takes pride in watching her develop, grow, and discover her own uniqueness. Julia, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Dave. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. Ever since I learned about unique ability myself, I guess 6 years ago now, it's just been such a game changer. And to have you on the show and to be able to talk to our audience about how they can discover their own unique abilities, really grateful for that opportunity.
Well, it's kind of one of my favorite topics, other than my daughter, probably. And she doesn't like me talking about her anymore. So I'm always happy to talk about unique ability. I do think it's such a valuable way to look at yourself and to look at the world and to operate, redesign your life around unique ability. It's not really the way it's done in the rest of the world. I don't know why sometimes, right. But in our entrepreneurial community at Strategic Coach, it's really the core concept of our coaching program. So I've been at Strategic Coach now 25 years this year. And you're right from the beginning, I was sort of latched onto this whole concept. I think I have a natural passion and interest in helping people grow and develop and figure out what their strengths are and see their uniqueness and do what they love to do, because it just makes so much sense to me that, why would we force someone into doing activities they hate doing? They're not going to do a very good job. They're going to get drained of energy. They're not going to be very happy. They're going to be grumpy and frustrated. It doesn't seem to be a very logical way to run your business or your life, right? For yourself or for your team members. So the more, as an entrepreneur, this, your organization is built around your unique ability and your unique set of talents and strengths. And the more you can focus on that, the greater value you're going to create for your clients, the greater meaning you're going to have in your life, the greater results you're going to create, the more fun you're going to have, the happier you'll be, the more improvements you'll make. Like any of the things that you want most in life, I think are going to come from you focusing on your unique ability and then building that team around you where you can pass the baton and have people do the things that you find annoying and they actually like to do and get energy from doing themselves. So it's sort of it requires a little bit more teamwork skill, cooperation, communication than maybe some people want to invest in, because it's not so easy. Now you have to work with other people really well. So you have to develop some of those talents, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, I know it's been such a journey for myself. And, I really credit, Dan and, Unique Ability and what I've learned at Coach to actually experiencing all those things that you said. And it might kind of seem foreign to, some others, right? What that actually means. So why don't we start with actually, breaking down what is unique ability? Where did it come from? What is the Kolbe score? Tell us about Kathy Kolbe. How did this all start?
Absolutely. Sure. So, and there's a bit of a backstory. So Dan Sullivan, years and years ago, I think in the 1980s, he actually went and this was before Strategic Coach. He did a study for the government on people across Canada who had disabilities, like physical, mental disabilities. And he went and did this study. And as he did this study, he looked at what people were successful and which people weren't. And he realized that even when people had these certain quote unquote disabilities, the people who focused on their abilities were the ones that did well. And he realized that he had certain areas of quote unquote disability in himself too. So it was sort of this awareness and realization that we all have areas of the things that we're good at and things that we're not good at, right? And so when he teamed up with Babs and they built Strategic Coach, Babs, one of the first things she did was she looked at Dan and said, well, you know what, Dan, how about why don't we get someone else to collect the checks and you go out and talk to the clients, right? So you're really good at talking to the clients and coming up with these ideas. So she started taking things off Dan's plate and started to sort of maximize him in a sense. There's another assessment we might touch on called the Clifton strengths. And so there's your top strength is maximizer. So is mine. So maximizers like to, well, first of all, we notice people's strengths. We like to focus on those strengths. We don't really want to do the stuff we're not good at. And we like to work in the realm of excellence. So when you're focused on the things that you're really, really good at, that's actually how you get to the levels of excellence that we want to get to. We want to get to exponential growth. We're not interested in just tiny incremental growth. We want to take things and really have them be the best that they can possibly be. So over the years in Strategic Coach, Dan and Babs, the way we help our entrepreneurs is to really help them focus. Dan used to have a concept, delegate everything except genius. So it's like the parts that you're really genius at, keep those and then delegate everything else. And that's evolved over the years into who, not how, unique ability, teamwork, who, not how, where you find someone else. Instead of you trying to figure out how to do everything, you find a who's actually already really good at that. And you let them do that. So I'll backtrack a little bit and go into the definitions of unique ability. There's a couple ways that we look at it. We have a whole process. I'm a process-oriented person as well. So I kind of looked at Dan's tools, and there were already processes that existed in the company, and I kind of just took them to the next level, given the way I think about things, and put them together into a more in-depth process, because I actually go one-on-one with people and we go really dig deep. Because I like to know what are the talents that are kind of behind the curtain. What is your unique recipe for being you? What makes you tick? Why do you do the things you do? It's kind of like the behind the scenes. I'm fascinated by that. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. And I think if I can help people connect with that, they can do more of that. We take what was unconscious and they just did naturally. You're like, oh, it's just like breathing, Julia. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just breathing. It's just me being me. And then all of a sudden we start to become conscious and aware that, oh, the way I think about things, or let's say your orderly discipline of how you organize things, not everybody does that, right, Dave? You do that and you're driven to do that. You can't help yourself but do that. Well, guess what? Not everybody else is good at that. So one way I would define unique ability is it's your unique set of talents that comes naturally to you. And you got a lot of them, probably. In our process, we help you articulate. We kind of pull the fabric apart to see what the threads are. What are the ingredients in your recipe, whichever analogy you want to use. And we see, because we want to see what they are. They all work together. They're all mixed up together, really, kind of cooking together. And then we also boil that down into a sentence. So you can walk around and you can say, my unique ability is doing blah, 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 in order to have a certain result that you care about. So that's sort of the deep dive version. And then we also have a way to look at unique ability in a simpler way, where you look at your activities and you see, well, how am I spending my time? And we have you make a simple list of activities. I'm checking my email, I'm meeting with a client, I'm having a prospect meeting, I'm strategizing, I'm thinking about the future of my company, whatever the things are, I'm opening the mail, all those kind of activities. And then we have you analyze them. And I think you went through this with Gary Muttershead on his, where we've got the 4 categories of analyzing your activities. Is it unique ability? And the key factor there is, does it give you energy? Do you love doing it? Are you good at it? Of course, you have to have a superior skill. But the other 2 factors really are about, is it something that you really love? Does it give you energy? Are you energized to start it? Are you energized at the end of the day when you're finished doing it? And then do you want to keep getting better at it? Like, I want to keep getting better at being a coach. I want to keep getting better at making the connections that I make for people. That's something that I could do all day long and continue to listen to podcasts about and learn about. And I want to keep improving at that area. The next category is excellent. So excellent, the big difference between unique ability and excellent is the level of passion. You're really good at it though. So a lot of people get trapped in the activities that they're super, super talented at. They got a great reputation. Everyone's like, oh, Dave's good at this. We're going to have Dave do this. Dave's been doing it for years and he's so good at it. But you're like, yeah, you know what? I could pass on that, Julie. I don't really love doing that anymore. Maybe you loved it at one point and that's fine, but now you sort of moved on, or maybe it's not exciting to you anymore. So a lot of people get in that excellent trap. I would say a lot of people in the world are probably trapped a little bit in that world where they're doing things, it's part of their job, or it's kind of what they think they should do. Even our clients get trapped in the shoulds of, oh, well, as the owner of the company, I should be the one to have the corner office. Sometimes you got to bust the person out of the office, get rid of their office, and have them go around and talk to the salespeople. And that's actually what their unique ability, unique ability activity for them is. Then there's competent and incompetent, and that's where we get down to lower skill level. You're not as good at it. Incompetent is something you really can't do. And you shouldn't, you should fire yourself from any incompetent activities immediately, because you'd probably fire a team member if they were incompetent at their activities. Unfortunately, some of our entrepreneurs hold on to that stuff because maybe they used to do it, or it's a habit that they keep doing it, or there's that should of, well, who am I to let go of that kind of thing? I've had people do that even with their email. It's like, well, I should do it. Yeah, but do you get back to people? No, not really. I'm pretty bad at my email. And then all of a sudden they get an amazing assistant, and the assistant is 1,000 times better than they ever were at that activity. And the assistant loves it. And all of a sudden all the clients are super happy to email because they're actually getting a response. And so that goes into the whole idea of teamwork. So we got those 4 categories. You can look at your activities. You really, really want to pay attention to energy and passion. Is it fascinating? Is it motivating? That's the area of unique ability. So the more, over time, it's not going to all happen in one day. We always talk about it as a process. It's a journey. So is life. But over time, if you can even just start shaving off some of those activities that are non-unique ability activities, definitely get rid of the competent, incompetent ones first, but then start tackling those excellent ones, because you might be spending a ton of your time, and you know how valuable time is. I know that's one of your big things, that you help people, really maximize their use of their time, and that's important to you. You could be spending a lot of time in your excellent activities that if you took some of that time and put it in the unique ability category, your results would skyrocket. Your energy would skyrocket. Maybe you'd work less, take more time off, have more balanced life, not be at the office all the time, focus on your important relationships outside of work. So there's tons of benefits to letting go of that excellent stuff. But it really is a mindset shift, and it's getting out of the world of this is the way it should be done. And Dan Sullivan and Bob Smith, both of them are all about freedom. And so it's really about giving yourself the freedom and the permission, which is a lot of what I do for people, is I give them the clarity of what their unique ability is. Once they get the clarity, and I continually sort of drum it into their minds, this is unique. This is nobody else I've met with has your unique set of talents. It really is. You may have similarities with other people, but nobody's exactly like Dave. I'll give you 25 years, you go find someone exactly like you, and you'll come back, and I don't think you'll have any. So anyway, that's sort of me rambling on about unique abilities.
No, that's a great explanation. When I think about it, the words that I really love are fascinating and motivating.
Yeah. Right.
So if you were to just try to quantify your unique ability, these 2 words really capture it. And you're absolutely right that, this is an evolutionary dynamic process, and you're not going to recognize these things unless, your mind is actually looking for them, right? So when you start going through your day, you can do this activity inventory, and you can think about the things that you do in the course of a day and a week, and what is fascinating and motivating to you. Right? What creates the most value, for your clients, and the things that, you like to do and contribute to. And once you can really kind of get a hold of those, it is amazing. It not only how efficient that you can be and drive more value. And you talked about this, but I still think it's really underrated, but it's really all about fulfillment and happiness. Yeah. Right? You're not going against the grain anymore. You're doing just what's natural to you. You get up completely energized. You finish the day. Last Friday, I had 15 client calls, back-to-back calls the entire day, and I loved it.
And you loved it. You got out and you were like jazzed by the end of it, right?
I was completely energized. And the end of the day, I'm just, I was ready to keep going. So it's
that's
kind of
me
like,
at the end of a
yeah,
coaching day. Exactly. You're so pumped up. And it is fascinating when you have those conversations with clients and you listen
right.
and you help maximize their results. It's fun for you. It's fulfilling at a deep level, I think.
Exactly. Right. And I think, this is kind of the ethos of what we kind of talk about. We talk about holistic wealth strategy, and it is really being fulfilled, right. In a holistic way, not just having freedom of money, right. But by having freedom of time, freedom of purpose, freedom of relationship, all these other things. And I think unique ability is really at the core of a lot of that. So help the audience understand, if they wanted to discover their unique ability, what would be a process that you would recommend?
Yeah. So we have a whole, strategic coach process outlined that you can get our book in our notebook. And I can give you a few. We have a website, uniqueability.com, where you can even go and check out. There's a little beginner's guide for those people who want to get started. And one of the things we do with people to get started is we have them send out a letter, an email, usually these days. And we have you pick 8 or 10 people that are in your life that you know and trust, that you value their opinion. And it's very simple. You just say, hey, I'm kind of looking in whatever you want to say. I'm trying to understand myself a little bit better. What do you think my unique ability is? What characteristics that do you count on me for? How would you describe me? What are the positive attributes? How do I create value for you? And then you just fire it off. You can send it to your parents, your brother, your sister, your kids, your colleagues, your clients, your neighbors, whoever you want. And then you get that feedback. And it's really, some people have a hard time reading it. It's interesting. Other people love it and they soak it right up, because it's kind of like getting, we're so used to telling people how they can improve and what they could be better at, but we really don't give each other that much positive feedback in the course of a day or a week or a year. I think, even you get your kid's report card and people immediately look at the D's or the C's or the whatever. They're not looking at, hey, what'd you get an A+ at first, and reinforcing those first. We tend to look at, I don't know if it's a human nature thing, but we look at where we can improve. So when you get that feedback back, it's very, like what I would say, and Dan and I talk about this a lot, is take it seriously. These are the people that you value, and they've told you how you create value for them. And you may look at it and say, oh, well, you're kind, or you're warm or friendly. And you're like, well, that's just a soft skill, Julia. That doesn't matter. Everybody can be like that. No, they're not. They're not. And the fact that even you, Dave, you're personable, you create relationship with people, you connect with people, you create a space where it feels easy to connect to you. So I would say that's part of your unique ability. That's one of your unique ability best habits that we would call it. So sending out the letter is a great way just to even start to open your eyes and open the door to some self-awareness around, oh, it's not just me being me, it's me actually making an impact on those people around me. When we wrote the second book on unique ability, I thought, well, I'll go through the process again, and because I'd already done it years before. And I sent the letter out to my neighbors who had only known me probably for a couple of months, and I'd only see them once in a while. Our kids play out front. And the stuff they wrote back in their letters, I was sort of like, whoa, like I strive to come across in that way. But the fact that they noticed those things about me, it was kind of mind blowing. I thought we are way more transparent than we realize. We think that people don't notice how we're being, thinking, feeling, doing. Now, there's a lot sometimes they don't see. And I do think there's a lot behind the curtain that people don't know about. And maybe they judge just on, looks or whatever. But it was very eye-opening for me to do that again and to get that feedback. So that would be one thing that anyone could do right now, and you would be started down the process. Okay. We do have the whole activities path part of our process, where you do an activity inventory, like we were just talking about. You list all the ways that you spend your time. In the book, there's a personal list too, doing dishes, groceries, all your home accounting, all that stuff. You can do it because unique ability lives everywhere. It's not just you at work. It's you with your family. It's you as a father or as a mother, as an uncle, whatever. So you can do the activity inventory, and then you start to categorize, well, which one of these activities actually give me energy? Which ones do I find fascinating and motivating? which ones I'm good at, but I don't love doing, which ones do I like, I barely meet minimum standards. Lots of other people could do this better. Which ones am I terrible at? Like me fixing mechanical things around my house. I'm terrible at it. I need to find a who's good at those things.
Yeah.
I just had someone recently come and help me hang pictures in my house and redesign my living room. I was so happy afterwards. I procrastinated for a long time before I finally got someone else. It's not my unique ability to do that stuff. I actually let my daughter do more of that stuff. She's only 10, but I let her kind of go nuts, and she rearranges things a lot. She likes to do that kind of thing. Give your kids the freedom too to do things the way they would naturally do.
Yeah.
So once you've kind of categorized your activities, then you can come up with, okay, what's one improvement I could make? Maybe you hate grocery shopping. So maybe you order in your groceries if you have that ability to do that, right? Or, sometimes you still have to do the activity because you don't have any way to get rid of it, but you can reframe it in your mind. How could you see it differently? Sometimes people do that too. That's a whole other kind of conversation. But if you have an ability even to get someone else in your family, one of the friends at work, her daughter loves planning parties, and she doesn't like planning parties at all. So she's given that job to her daughter. She's a teenager and she plans the parties. So use the people around you, swap with a neighbor, get someone else to do it, or hire someone if you can. Invest in those people, because when you're investing in those people, it's the same as you investing in team members, you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your freedom. You're investing in your time. If you could get someone else to mow your lawn, then now you got more time to go hang out with your kids. So you base that on your priorities, and most of our clients have the resources to invest in those types of people. Plus, you're also giving that lawn mowing person an opportunity to create value for you. You're giving them employment. Some people love mowing the lawn. You're actually giving them a chance to do the things that they love to do. So you're not, if you think of it that way, kind of give and take. So that's the sort of simple way. So then if we want to get into do you want to get into the deep dive a little bit about how you would actually uncover, how do I describe my unique ability? What are my talents? You want to talk about that, Dave?
Sure.
Okay. So this is where we use some assessments to help us. So you mentioned something called the Kolbe. So the Kolbe Index is a really awesome, unique assessment discovered and created by a theorist named Kathy Kolbe. Her father actually created a different profile that's an intelligence profile, the Wonderlic. And she kind of always was seeing what he was creating. And she was telling him, well, wait a minute, you've missed this. And he's like, well, you've got your own idea. Why don't you go create your own thing? So she created this amazing index called the Kolbe Index. And what it describes and what it helps you articulate is how you take action. So if we think of, there's three parts of the mind. There's your intelligence, okay, up in one quadrant. So that's your IQ, your skills, and your life experiences, all the things you've learned. Then your affective part of your mind. A lot of people are familiar with assessments here, like the Myers-Briggs, which, may be questionable in some ways, but a lot of people know about it, or the Clifton Strengths. There's a lot of affective, feeling-based profiles. Your personality profiles would all fit in that category. This is not personality. So Kolbe fits in the third part of the mind, which is conation, which is to do with striving. It's to do with will. It's to do with instincts. So how do you naturally take action? So that's one of the tools. We use that with our team members we use it for hiring. To make sure that the person, when I first got hired at Strategic Coach, they did my Kolbe first. I was like, what is this thing? What are you talking about? So you fill out this assessment, tells how you naturally operate. Again, we want to go ride the horse in the direction it's already going. We don't want to put Julia in a role where she's not going to succeed. We want to help her succeed. So they would not have put me in a role that wasn't a good fit for how I naturally take action, because I would have had to twist myself into a pretzel. Now, I could have overridden my natural instincts using my intelligence or using my learned experience or my just strong desire and will to get things done. And I've seen people do that. And after, a year, they totally burn out in that job. They can't keep going, right? It's not a good recipe for fun. And you can grind someone for long enough, but after a while, their natural way of doing things is going to, if you put someone in a very high, we'll call it follow through is one of the modes, is, super organizing, scheduling, and they're a 4 out of a 10. They can do it for a while, and maybe they're smart and they can figure out ways to do it. But after a while, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to hate it. They're going to quit. They're not going to be happy there. So the Colby is a really interesting starting point. I always would start there. It's kind of where I started in learning how someone takes action. And then we want to fit that with the role that they're in. So you're a mediator, Colby, so which is a little harder to explain. We always call that like, ooh, when you find a mediator, you want to hire them immediately because you help teamwork work, basically, because you're sort of responsive or accommodating all four of the modes, where you're willing to jump in different ways. You're willing to jump in terms of fact finding and finding specifics and details. You're willing to jump in terms of the arranging and designing and organizing of things, right? You're willing to go along with risks and change. And then your implementer, your counteract. So you're a 3 out of 10, but you've got 3 out of the 4 modes in the middle. So there's a lot of willingness to go along with things. And you also can bridge people who are a sort of at either end of the scale, the 1s and the 9s. You can translate between them. I know my sister and I are opposite in how we operate in terms of Colby, and we need a mediator to basically sit between us in order for us to have a conversation.
What if everything you thought you knew about investing was wrong? Would you like to create a wealth strategy like the top 1% have and get exclusive access to top private equity deals that provide downside protection, tax efficiency, predictable cash flow, and have a lucrative upside? Discover how with the Pantheon Advantage and join our investor club today at pantheoninvest.com.
Interesting. I mean, Julia, why do you think, it is really fascinating, right? Because in, traditional academia, while people, are being raised, we hear of things like Myers-Briggs, right? And we think that, okay, like it's kind of the right idea to learn more about yourself, discover yourself, your traits and where you're going to, best fit. But this concept is just so powerful, right? This conative ability of your brain and this natural wiring. And I watch my kids who are in their 20s right now. It's just so important as they're trying to figure out what they're trying to do. We talk about unique ability all the time in our household because it's just so important to say, what is this instinctive wiring that you have? And then how can you really maximize that, right? Because you're going to be fulfilled there. But why do you think it's really not, part of the education platform today? It took me a long time to find this.
I know it's a really good question. I think it's sort of like the best kept secret around, I know Kathy Colby and Colby Corp have done a lot of work in schools and some schools in the States, and they have, there are people who go out and take Colby into the schools in their neighborhood or the healthcare. Kathy worked with sports teams. She worked with the Phoenix Suns years ago, I believe, or different other sports teams, because the more you get your your team players working in their areas of unique ability and doing things the way they're naturally wired, the more successful your team's going to be. You're going to win. So I don't know why. I think we just keep spreading the word. We use it extensively with all of our clients, with all of our team members. I know our clients then latch onto it, and then they do it with their teams, and then they do it with their spouses, and then they do it with their kids. And I agree with you. If kids understood this, and I'm going to take it a little bit more into my daughter's school if they're open to it. See, I don't think everybody's always as open to it or willing to make the investment in it per se. But so, parents are usually the ones, if you find the parents are going to invest in it for their kids. Maybe the school systems aren't, but I think parents who want their kids to succeed and, maximize their parents like you and me, we love this stuff because it helps us. I did my daughter's Colby years ago. There's a different version for younger kids. And because I just needed to know how to operate with her, because I know she's not going to be like me. Some parents make the mistake of assuming that their kids are little clones of them, and they're probably not. And I was quite opposite to my mother and my sister. And I think, if we'd known about Colby when I was little, it would have explained a few things, because my mom used to say, well, come on, we'd be in the kitchen cooking. And she's like, well, just make it up. Just make it up. And I'm not a make it up person. I needed to know, what's the recipe? How much, what Do I use a half a cup or a 3/4 cup? What's the measurement? Or how do I know when it's done? How many minutes should I set the timer for? Whereas other people just wing it and they kind of throw it in and they guesstimate. And so my mother, like, what's wrong with this girl? It's not an intelligence issue, but there's something that stopped. When you talked about brain wiring, that's exactly what it is. Your brain is wired to operate in a certain way. And when you can't operate according to your natural way, there was a word, and when Kathy did a study, called it, people were dithering. It's like they couldn't take action. It's almost like you're paralyzed, even though they were highly intelligent people, but they were told to operate against their natural brain. They were like frozen in their tracks. You ask an initiating fact finder to have a conversation without mentioning one fact, that's what you hear, silence, because they can't do it. It's like impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that. Let's unpack the teamwork piece a little bit, because I think that's kind of the next level of this whole thing, right? So for me and my journey, it was first figuring out, what is really unique ability? How does that apply to me? How can I apply that to work? And then you start applying it also to your personal life. And it has just been amazing to see, like with my family. I mean, my daughter is a really high implementer. She's super organized. So when we have home projects around the house, it's really great. I just put her in charge and, and she takes over and she goes and, it's like, okay, well, what do you need? And the harmony with which like your family can operate once you understand. And we have, by the way, we have 4 kids, including triplets, right? So
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So there's always a lot going on when our family is there, but the more that we've kind of uncovered, the unique ability and just let people go, right? When it is their natural strength, right? And don't kind of fight against that. We've created so much more harmony in our house. We've created a lot more productivity, or, when we're traveling and going on trips, it's like, okay, Adelaide's in charge of this, right? We get that, right? And so that's been really cool. I'm really excited too. I'm actually signed up for the couples connection this year. So my wife and I are celebrating our 25th anniversary and really looking forward to deep dive on unique ability together. And that's been, a real discovery in and of itself, right? With our marriage. And then also taking that further, right, into teams. We've been hiring that way as well. And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, right, we almost feel guilty in a way when we delegate certain tasks or the things that we don't like to do. Well, let's give it to so and so because it needs to be done. But the amazing thing about unique ability is when they're in their unique ability, they love to do what you hate to do, right? Yep. So, I mean, when you start to put that together in a team, talk about, putting nitrous oxide on your business, right? Oh,
totally. Things really do explode. And when you get everybody, I mean, our whole context at Strategic Coach, when I first started, happy anniversary, by the way. And I'm really excited you guys are going to couples. But, because we did want to find a way to bring people's most important, cherished relationships into, using Strategic Coach thinking tools, not on your business, but towards your life, because it is a very holistic program, and unique ability shows up in your life, like you said, and with your kids. And I'm really glad you have an initiating implementer, by the way, for the people who don't know what that is. It's using tools and implements. It's the actual people who are hands-on, which is not my or your talent, right? So I know my daughter she fixes the bike when it's broken, and, she's only 10, but she can do it better than I can. So, which is great, because then your kids feel great about that they're actually making a contribution. They're feeling part of the team of your family. But if we go back to teamwork for entrepreneurs, our whole sort of goal at Strategic Coach is to help people create what we call a self-managing company, and then eventually a self-multiplying company. So if you create the environment or an ecosystem where like Julia comes into the company and we say, okay, great. What are Julia's talents and how do we help Julia be the best Julia she can be? It wasn't my sister works at the company, Shannon, and she was the one who kind of helped hire me way back when. And it wasn't, nobody tried to make me turn into Shannon, thank goodness, because I would have failed. I would have quit, because we're so different and so opposite. But I filled a hole that was needed in the team at that point, and to create and document all the systems that we had, because it was all living in people's heads. And I just naturally wanted to do that. Like, it was self-driving. So if you want a group of self-motivated people, I don't really believe in someone motivating me. I want to come self-motivated. You can inspire me. You can give me, like, you've got a great vision, Dave. That's part of your unique ability, is having the vision for your company and also probably for your clients' success and wealth growth. I don't have that ability. So Babs and Dan have this really cool vision, and they've collected these amazing people, and they've created an ecosystem where we each continually over time working towards working more and more in our unique ability. And it's kind of like follow your nose for team members. If you create a space for them to be creative, the creativity that happens in our company because people are put in the right positions and given the freedom to be themselves is unbelievable. So you said harmony, productivity, creativity, results, fun, all of those amazing things come when you've got this team. You have to get over the guilt. I would like to absolve everybody right now of the guilt, because if you think about it in terms of depriving someone else an opportunity to use their unique ability or use their talents, or even to grow and develop into taking on a new responsibility, if you hold on the responsibilities yourself, how are people going to grow around you? So you're actually helping other people by delegating to them. Now you want to delegate to the right people, and we talk more about elevating right now. So you want to actually find someone who's way better at it than you are, like your daughter. You don't need to know how to build the stuff. She knows how to build the stuff and put it all together. So you don't have to train her. You want to find someone who's so good at it, you don't even know what they're doing. And then you might have to give them direction, and you give them success criteria as to what you want the result to look like. So again, you're giving them the vision that they can then engage with. And you're creating this bigger purpose for people, which I think Dan talks a lot about as entrepreneurs. Your job is to create this bigger purpose. And then we as team members get to engage in it. I mean, that's why I'm still at our company for 25 years. And it's not like something I take for granted. I consciously choose to continue to be at the company because I'm always growing. Am I always doing new things? Am I working with great people? And am I adding more and more value? Those are my criteria. And if those are continually true, then I'm going to stick around. And at our company, we have an extraordinary amount of people who've been there for 25 years, 20 years, 10 years. And we have people who really stick around. So if you care about longevity of your team too, I think it's really the ticket.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say would be your single biggest insight from unique ability?
Wow. I think that we're all unique, which sounds maybe really obvious, but I don't think I have seen that for myself really so much before. And maybe this is part of my quest in life, is to see how I am special and how I, make it my own unique difference. Because I think I've always taken myself for granted and my talents for granted. And then here I am meeting with all these successful entrepreneurs, and they do the same thing. Because I don't think we're really wired to really understand that we're unique. And I don't think we believe in our uniqueness. And when you don't believe in it, you don't lean into it as much. You hold back, right? And Dan's always about, ambition and pushing the boundaries of how far can you go. And if you really bet on yourself and your unique ability, you can go, that's how you're going to go the farthest you can go. But I don't think we all bet on it because we're not clear. First of all, we're not clear that we even have a unique ability. Most people in the world don't even know that they even are different than someone else. We all make the faulty assumption that other people think the way we think, see the world the way we see the world, feel the way we feel, do the way we do, and they don't. They just don't. So I think the fact, if everyone could just get the message that you are unique, and even if you look at your life experiences, just even look at that alone without even getting into your talents and the different assessments like the Kolbe or the Clifton Strengths. And we use this print now that talks about your deepest why. My why is different than your why. We may show up in similar ways, but I'm doing it from a different motivation that's unique to me. And you've got your unique motivation. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest insight, is just that we are all unique.
Great. That's great. So if you could give just one piece of advice to the audience in terms of discovering their own unique ability and really applying this in life, what would it be?
Take me seriously. Take yourself seriously. Take your unique ability seriously. Take one step towards figuring out what it might be. Follow your nose, follow your heart, because your energy and your heart and your passion will direct you in the right place. People are probably already doing a lot of things in their unique ability. They just don't realize they are. Mm-hmm. So I think if they started to just even have a new awareness and just start observing and, do it with your kids. If you can't do it for yourself first, do it with your kids or do it with the people around you or your team. And you'll start to notice things that other people do things differently than you do. And then you'll start to take yourself more seriously. I want to mention, just if you don't mind, one other thing when I think about like the biggest insights I've had over the last few years with coaching people. And that would be that the way that we actually create value for other people is that we help them be like us. Now, what I mean by that is we help them be like us, see the world like we see the world, feel like us, do like us. So when Dan is all about freedom and happiness, right? So what he's done is he's attracted other people in the world who are ambitious. They want greater freedom. They want greater happiness. They want greater success. Dan actually is really good at doing that, right? He got good at that because that's how he's wired and that's what he wants. He then attracted other people who wanted that too. And then through being in the strategic coach program, guess what? You start thinking and seeing the world like Dan. When you're filling out one of his thinking exercises, you're kind of thinking like Dan. When I do my unique ability process, we're kind of thinking like Dan in the same way. Plus, you're thinking like me because I'm helping you make connections to the things that I see. Just like when you're helping your clients get greater success, guess what? You're really good at you want to keep improving and getting more and more success because you're ambitious. So you then attract other ambitious doctors, lawyers, corporate executives, whoever, and they want greater success. And you're really good at organizing things and creating with a lot of integrity and responsibility and ethics. And you're really, really good at that. So you attract other people. And then by being part of your framework and your system, they get the benefits of that too. They may not be good at creating that themselves, but you're good at that. So in a way, that's what I mean by you're helping them, think like you, take action like you, do things the way you do them. You're rubbing off on them in a sense. But that's, to me, how we actually create the most value for people. So the more you know what your unique ability is, the more you can make a bigger contribution and have a bigger impact on the people around you.
Wow, that's really powerful. Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't really, thought about it from that perspective, but that's a really powerful insight. I appreciate you sharing that, Julia. And then I guess just since you are a superior coach in the program, just anything else that you could share with the audience in terms of, kind of from a personal development practice? Is there one single, practice that you have that's really yielded the most success for you?
I think as a general one, I think our practice that we use at Strategic Coach, and some people have different versions of this, is the positive focus, where every day and I have a little list going of all of the accomplishments and the good things that have happened in my life today. Having a great podcast with you, I would write that down. This sort of awareness of the positives in life, because I think a lot of us tend to measure ourselves against somewhere that we want to be in the future, or, a certain standard that we have. I know those of us probably on this call right now have high standards, right? So we want to have things, and our eyes tend to see the things that we haven't done. So I think doing a positive focus, or some people do a gratitude focus, I start every day with that. And that helps me then feel confident. It helps me feel like I'm making a difference. It helps me feel like I'm achieving. And, some of those things are hopefully a lot of those things are going to be unique ability related. So it's going to be me using my talents to help make a contribution to other people. But I try and teach that to my daughter. We do a lot of, what worked over the summertime, learning from our own experience, connecting with the positives, and then doing more of those to have a more fulfilling and fun and enjoyable life.
Outstanding. I love that. And I share the same practice as well. From the first minute I get up, I'm reflecting on my wins from the day prior. I'm focusing on gratitude. And it's interesting because it's really a rewiring of the brain. And
Yeah.
I'd love to study neurohacking as well. And it's interesting, right, that our brain as humans, right, we're wired to sense danger, right? So it's no wonder that we're always looking for what's what's wrong or what's about to go wrong. So we're sensing for that. But when you can create this consistency around that positive focus, it really changes the wiring of your brain to do that. And we do it to everything. When we have meetings with our employees, we start with a positive focus. When I go for a walk with my wife, that's what we start the conversation with, not, the things that didn't work out, but the things that did. And it is amazing, how powerful the focus on gratitude, I think, is huge. And then also just giving you really that, that confidence and everything to then, propel yourself even further, right?
Yeah. Dan's number one rule is always protect your confidence. So those kind of skills and habits, really, and you're right, our brains are wired for survival. So it doesn't come naturally. I know with my daughter, I really have to work on helping her see the positives. And first, some people feel uncomfortable when they can't even find something. It's like, well, you better go out and do something positive then, so you've got something to share tomorrow. So, but training people's brains, I think, makes a huge difference in all areas of life.
Absolutely. Julia, really enjoyed this. I know the audience is going to love this. We are going to put links in the show notes to folks about where to find the books, including Unique Ability 2.0 and the workbook. I highly recommend checking it out. You can get it on Amazon. I've gone through the exercise myself and am constantly working on that. Are there any other sources that you would like to recommend to folks, or how, if people would like to learn more about what you're doing with Strategic Coach or Unique Ability, what's the best place folks can reach out?
Yeah, strategiccoach.com is our main website for successful entrepreneurs. And we have a ton of free resources on there too. We have a million blog posts and podcasts and all sorts of really good, juicy stuff. And they all are sort of various extensions of Unique Ability or thinking tools to help you have greater freedom, success, and happiness. So that's a really great place for anybody to go. If you're interested in our coaching program, our whole program is centered around the concept of helping you work more in your unique ability. And then the book you can get, like you said, on Amazon. You can go to uniqueability.com. We have a little book club guide if you want to get together with a group of friends or neighbors and work through the book and the notebook. It is a bit of it's like a workshop in a box kind of deal. So you kind of want to go through it a little bit at a time. Maybe take yourself out to a coffee shop or meet with a front group of friends, go through it little by little and sort of slowly digest it, because for some people it can be overwhelming. So we've got a few little cool tools on the uniqueability.com site, but those are the two places that I would send people.
Great. Really appreciate it, Julia, and look forward to seeing you up in Toronto again soon. And thanks again so much for coming in.
Oh, my great pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really, really had fun chatting with you, Dave.
What if everything you thought you knew about investing was wrong? Would you like to create a wealth strategy like the top 1% have and get exclusive access to top private equity deals that provide downside protection, tax efficiency, predictable cash flow, and have a lucrative upside? Discover how with the Pantheon Advantage and join our investor club today at pantheoninvest.com.